It is 58 days to the presidential and parliamentary elections. Good morning and welcome to Newsdesk. We're live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, on all our social media handles and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up within the next 60 minutes, government deploys the Ghana Armed Forces to clamp down on illegal mining activities as it intensifies efforts to combat the menace. We're live on the grounds at Suhum when the group begins their first operation today. Also coming up, University Teachers Association of Ghana withdraws their services nationwide as they demand government declares a nationwide ban on mining and prospecting for minerals in forest reserves, farms and rivers. We'll hear from the group, which has defied organized labor directive to suspend its intended industrial action. We also have business in this package. My name is Faustina Safo. Thanks for choosing us. Thanks for choosing us for your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now we start with the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, because they have voted overwhelmingly in favor of declaring an industrial action in support of the nationwide ban on mining and prospecting for minerals in forest reserves, farms, and rivers. Now, in a referendum conducted by the National Independence Electoral Committee, 77.95% of members voted yes for the motion, with 2,158 votes out of the total 2,762 votes cast. And that statement is coming up on your screen shortly, released by UTAG. 7 noticed that based on this referendum, they would be withdrawing their services nationwide. And it reads that your letter reference UTAG, and this is dated 2nd of October. Well, the NIEC has collated the results of the voting from 15-member branches on the motion, quote, should the neck of UTAG declare an industrial action in support of the nationwide ban on mining and prospecting for gold and other minerals in forest reserves, farms, and rivers. That's the question posed to members of UTAG. Now, next says, after this question was posed to their members, a total of 2,762 members across the 15-member branches cast their votes. Out of this, 2,153, representing 77.95% of the total votes, voted yes for the motion, while 607, representing 21.98% of the total votes, voted no against the motion. Goes on to say 2 members representing 0.07% of the total votes, they voted to abstain. Now, as a result, the NIEC therefore declares the motion carried, and that takes effect today, that industrial action by labor. Well, this is coming just 24 hours after, unfortunately, organized labor chickened out of their intended strike. President of the University of Ghana chapter of UTAG, Professor Ransford Jampo, criticized the leadership of organized labor for their decision to suspend the planned strike over illegal mining.
Any serious variation from what we were told on Monday, from what we are being told today. But suddenly, Joshua Ansa and Bampo said government has shown commitment and so let us call off the strike. Well, our view as UTAG, yes, as of yesterday, the 16 public universities, we had voted to go on strike on, as our response, to the fight against illegal mining. And we did not even I looked at the motion that was tabled. It was not even tied to what organized labor wanted to do. And so I'm in touch with my national president. We are holding our own meeting this evening. And then I'm telling you that we are not going to go by this charade. We are not going to go by this show of incompetence and gross disrespect to other unions for constituting the labor, or constituting organized labor. Clearly, they came with an agenda. Look, there are so many things that are being said about the leadership of organized labor. And the kinds of things that happened here, festers those bogus charges and allegations.
Well, UTAG is not alone. The Catholic Archdiocese of Accra and the Conference of Major Superior of the Religious Congregation, Ghana, have served notice that they would hit the streets within the next 24 hours, demanding a ban on all forms of mining. Here's Reverend Father Nicholas Azine. He is president of the National Justice, Peace, Integrity of Creation at the Catholic Archdiocese.
The goals of this prayer walk is to raise awareness about devastating effect of the Galamsey, advocate for government to declare a state of emergency to stop all forms of mining activities, to allow for evaluation of the damages and also healing of the land. Mobilize Catholics and Ghanaians to demand that government acts now and not keep giving promises. Foster collaboration among stakeholders to address the issue of mining activities that are destructive to our environment. And finally, to promote environmental sustainability and protection.
Well, we will be taking you shortly on the grounds because we know that the government has deployed the Ghana Armed Forces to put a stop to illegal mining. They have declared river bodies red zones across the country. We'll take you there live because my colleague Max Agbawa is embedded with the team. Meanwhile, the Ghana Police Service has come under strong public criticism after the Minerals Commission boss revealed he had notified the police about illegal mining activities which went on behind the Einam police station. Well, Erastus Asaredonko was at that area and he filed this report.
There are indications illegal mining has gone on about 200 meters behind the Einam police station. Just some 5-minute walk from the police station, illegal miners have redirected the course of the Brim River. Many of the residents are worried about the impunity with which illegal miners have taken over water resources in the community. One of them, who was willing to speak, shared his frustrations with us.
This is Einam, and behind me is the Einam police station. Now, this is what has become the subject of discussion of late. Behind this police station, about 200 meters, you will find an illegal mining site, which looks abandoned. But ahead of me, that is ahead of the Einam police station, about 100 meters from here, there are a lot of mining sites, illegal mining sites, lining the Brim River, which is just here to this direction. So I'm going to go over there and we're going to film and show you the number of mining sites we have ahead of the Einam police station.
Send Chafan for more. And I for so I cry and by a for a China for no academy by Amo Oko Francis Nechi Omoton say a Honyama, a Chafan for no. It made a Sacamenqua. Anka Aban Galamsey Nibia, Mr. Libatun Subian, Monkunu, one channel. No, often got to.
On the inaction of the police, despite the proximity of the illegality to the law enforcement agency, he said the commander cannot act without the backing of the chief of the town.
So no betimi eto na mankopokora no a ebia no pani wo hin bi esa hyase ba ha into obepimapimapimo a na emwe into metaka senti ne teacher na tintin yanse sade a se bi ohin eto na mon ebe che command be say na atomedi a na ma command so hoden ma wo so atusa na be command betimi to na mon na ohin na ede hyase ede ma na manfo eye adwuma no e masa no se bi onu kwa se bi onu kwa se bi oyabakofo ayemman ana say bia onu come na so no onko a opimpim already emwe and so here no support ndia won na hold intimi enye hwe.
Few days ago you could see that there were a number of champagne machines working and operating here by the Brim River. Now you can see the nature of the river as it flows over here, prevented by a number of champagne machines which sit on it over there. Now the place has been cleared, but that is the Kumasi Accra Road, and that is the Enyinem Bridge over the Brim River, and the pollution has gone on for months under the direct watch of the police.
The result of the unchecked illegality at Enyinem is the highly polluted Brim flowing along the main Kumasi Accra Road. Time will tell whether these champagne operators are really gone. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Enyinem, Eastern Region.
Well, still on mining, the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, they are imploring government to restrict the importation of sandfine machine as part of solutions to halt mining in rivers. Now, the group believes restricting the supply of the main component in boat building will restrict the dredging of river bodies for gold. General Secretary of the Small-Scale Miners, Godwin Ama, says this should go alongside the deployment of security forces to rid the rivers of illegal miners. Nanaya Ojima takes a look at the role sandfine engines play in the dredging of rivers in this report.
The conversation for adoption of effective measures to protect the country's rivers has heightened as some major rivers record higher turbidity levels from Galamsey activities. Aside from the washing of mining waste in rivers, some recalcitrant miners continue to dredge rivers for gold. Thus, the sound of the champagne engines, hence its popular name Tututu. The equipment mainly consists of barrels held together by steels which allow the wooden platform on which the engines are mounted to float on water. On top of the boat-like machine are compartments that aid the washing of the sand dredged from the river. The waste from the sand dredged from the river is deposited back into the river, leading to pollution.
We used to pump water from the pier to water our crops, but with the advent of illegal mining, we can no longer use water from the river. Our crops die when we use the polluted water from the pier river. My farm is just at the edge of the river, but I have to fetch water 2 miles from my farm to water the crops. This is where the whole Mafia town used to fetch water for daily chores, but now we can't.
In 2021, the government waged war on dredgers with inauguration of a task force to lead the charge. Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka, revealed steps are being taken to illegalize the construction of champagne boats.
And make sure if you are assembling or manufacturing a champagne machine, you are apprehended. Let me also say that this also doesn't give room for people to go out there to extort.
3 years on, the machines continue to float on rivers, wreaking havoc. With the heightened conversation about the destruction of water bodies by illegal miners, Mr. Ama emphasized the need to restrict importation of the champagne engines which power the boats.
And they should restrict the importation of this champagne machine. You have one Chinese importing over thousands of them into this country. Once we know that these champagnes, 90% will end up on our water bodies. What are we doing? about it. So as part of the long-term solutions, we should start restricting the number of this equipment that are coming into the country. Once you restrict it, they will not have access to it. And those who have license to get them, you get them. So every district, you have 2 outlets. These outlets, you can manage them properly. Then the wholesale, wherever you go, you see huge Chinese importers of these dredges, and they are all over.
The Ghana Water Company continues to record higher turbidity of some rivers, warning of potential water shortages. It has therefore become necessary for illegal mining activities destroying rivers to be halted. For Joy News, Nanaya Jima, Kumasi.
Well, government has deployed the Ghana Armed Forces to clamp down on the activities of illegal miners as it intensifies efforts to combat the menace. My colleague Maxwell Agwagwa is on the ground. He's embedded with the police team. He joins us live from Suhum. Maxwell, what can you report?
The illegal miners, some of them who have been mining with their Shamfan machines on the Brim River. So when we got here, what they did was to fly.
Unfortunately, Maxwell, we seem to be losing you intermittently. I'd like you to position rightly just so that you give us a sense of what is happening. Now, I'm hoping your connection is better. Just tell us where you are right now and what you can report.
Can you hear now?
Loud and clear now. Well, unfortunately, Maxwell's connection is not favorable as we speak. He is at Suhum. The Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Armed Forces, they have deployed their men on the grounds to ensure that they intensify the fight against illegal mining, clamp down on the activities of illegal miners. My colleague Maxwell Agwagwa is embedded with the team. In subsequent bulletins, we'll go back to him and engage him. Unfortunately, our connection to him isn't that clear. He was just giving us a picture of what is happening. The Ghana Armed Forces has been deployed on the ground. He says as at when they got to the area, some of the illegal miners, they took to their heels. We'll go back to him in subsequent bulletin when we have clearer connection. But away from that, the Minister for Agriculture, Brian Echampong, has disclosed that government has commenced the distribution of fertilizers and other farm inputs to farmers who were affected by this year's dry spell. He said that 118,000 metric tons of fertilizers and 5,133 metric tons of seed would be distributed to about 800 smallholder farmers. Now, the minister's speech, which was read by the Deputy Minister for Agriculture, said farmers cropping under 2 acres and commercial farmers are beneficiaries of this package. He spoke at a town hall meeting organized by the Information Ministry held in Tamale.
The Tamale Town Hall meeting, organized by the Ministry of Information in collaboration with the Regional Coordinating Council, created a platform to account to the people of the region government's infrastructure project, social interventions, and also highlighted government achievements so far. It offered people the opportunity to also ask questions. Speaking at the event, Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Hadi Tuferi, said commercial farmers would also benefit from the package.
We have since conducted an extensive audit and analysis of the situation and mobilized government resources, secure approval of Parliament, and support from the World Bank and the development partners. We have also secured grains and provided a food availability assurance audit. and we can assure the nation that our current food system is safe. 20,000 metric tons of fertilizer to commercial farmers nationwide. So it is not only smallholder farmers, commercial farmers stands to benefit.
Deputy Minister for Finance, Dr. Alex Ampabin, said 500 million have been approved to deal with the impact of the dry spell.
The ministry came out with an 8.2 million Ghana cedi budget. So the Ministry of Finance had to do a budget realignment, reallocating certain lines in order to accommodate for the contingency that faced us. We've also been able to get Parliament approval for 500 million from the contingency fund. In addition to this, we've also gotten the support of the the World Bank on a $150 million repurpose project. And there are other partners who are undertaking their own activity to support their own intervention, or working in other capacity with the ministry. The Ministry of Finance is working collaboratively with the Ministry of Agric in supporting our farmers, pegging an amount of around 1,000 Ghana cedi per hectare.
The Minister for Information, Fatima Abubakar, said she was excited to be in the region.
That is filled with so much joy. When I was informed that when we check the itinerary, we are supposed to come to Tamale, I said, this is homecoming for me. We know the disparity that we've experienced over a long period of time when it comes to developments. And I'm excited that all the good work that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia have given the good people of the northern region will be on display today through the exhibition and also through the Honorable Regional Minister's presentation.
The Northern Regional Minister, Shani Alhassan Shaibu, highlighted some development projects executed in the area.
Provision of school infrastructure, the recruitment and training of teachers, and the implementation of technology-driven education. These have helped to improve the quality of teaching and learning in our schools. 593 JHS public schools, 155 private JHS schools, giving us a total of 748 JHS schools. I'm happy to announce that the northern region topped the transition statistics in the country with a 98% rate under the free senior high school policy.
We are indeed your election headquarters, and is Ghana ready for a third force? That's a question we've been asking for the past few days, as we have just 58 days to the presidential and parliamentary elections. Today, my guest in the studio is the flag bearer of the Great Consolidated Party, Dr. Daniel Augustus Lartey. Thank you so much for your time here on Newsdesk.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Now, let's start with the raging controversy about illegal mining. That's a great note to start. What's the Great Consolidated People's Party plan to deal with illegal mining?
I mean, I've just been watching some of the snaps that you've been going through, and it's very sad. Yesterday, I was on a show, and I thought, what a sad situation to have. But then again, we have to find solutions to it. Because, yes, the issue is there. I don't think that it started 2 or 3 years ago. I think it's been there for quite a long time. And so, so it has accumulated into this very, very bad situation where our river waters are contaminated. And, I mean, you can't do anything with it. But then again, if we're going to dwell on it all the time, that, Galamsey is killing us. Yes, it's killing us, but we have to find a solution to it.
What solution are you proposing?
I mean, because I have, concept is, one, to educate everybody, to educate, the locals, to educate the chiefs, to educate the farmers, to educate all Ghanaians to understand that if these things continue and if we don't know what to do, then our country will come to a standstill, and I don't think that we want that to happen. So mine is to first address the situation, yes, it's there, and two, how do we solve it? Now, there's no one way of solving it, but I think that if we start with little steps, educate the youth, because you see, the youth are not employed. There's so many of them unemployed, especially university students. Some have been in agriculture. And the backbone and the backbone of this country is agriculture. And what spurs me on also is the GCPP's domestication policy, which incorporates this sort of things that are happening. And we have to get our youth to understand that there is an alternative to this awesome thing that's happening. We have to go back to basics. And I think when we go back to basics, and basics is farming, let's encourage them.
The Ghana Water Company, they've served notice that Ghana may be forced to import water in the future. We've heard from associations like the Ghana Pharmaceutical Association. They are worried that their members can no longer use water in Ghana for production purposes. And you think talking to people is the way to deal with this issue?
It's a shame, because when everyone is educated to that level, or to a level that they can understand that what is happening is not good for the crops also. So I mean, it's a diabolical situation that we are in. But if we're going to be dwelling on it all the time, then we're not going to solve it. We're not going to solve it, because we keep complaining and complaining and complaining. But let's try and find a solution to solve it. So let's start. That's why I said by small steps. Let's start, we have to go back to basics, start farming again, let them know the importance of farming, because what you eat is what you grow.
But how can you even farm when the lands available are being taken over by illegal miners? Government, they are today deploying the Ghanaian forces on the ground to ensure that they rid some of these lands of illegal miners.
And I recommend them for that.
Is that the right approach?
Well, I mean, because something has to be done. We just can't sit there and mark time, or sit there and wait for God to come and solve it for us. So if the government is taking this initiative, I'll support that, first of all. Because we need to reclaim this land, some of it. What is left? It's not all that is gone. But so what is left? Let's maximize it. Let's farm with it. Let the youth know that, yes, now I'm making revenue from this, so I don't need this Galamsey too much. Yes, it's giving them it's some sort of relief. They think they're getting the money. But in the long term, it's ruining the whole country. So I think education is terribly important. And if we can get that to the youth, and, and I stand with the youth, because there's so many of them who are not employed, and they do not understand really what this contaminated water is. So, I mean, they think, oh yeah,
So you think education people is the way to go. Now let's talk about calls for the ban of all forms of mining. Do you think that should be an approach we could consider?
Well, I mean, I mean to ban all forms of mining means, so you're going to ban AngloGold, you're going to ban Newmont, you're going to ban all those who have the legal entities to mine, because gold brings us revenue there. So we've got to, I mean, there are the pros and cons of everything. So we just can't say that, yes, I mean, what we're saying is not good, but so because of that, we should just lie there and wait for God to come and help us. We have to help ourselves. Yes, I mean, some mining concessions, especially at the Galamsey side, has to be stopped. Yes, that I agree. But those who have licenses, how do you stop them? Because they're not contaminated. As far as I know, they're not contaminating the waters. It's the alluvial side that's contaminated. I mean, it's doing that. So we have to educate. And those who are doing it, as far as I know, majority of them are the youth, and they don't know any better. So I mean, they know any better. You think if they have the opportunity to have the, sort of education that broadens their mind, they will do that. I don't think they would. And if they know that farming is the backbone of this country's economy, which is, 55% of our, or 48% of our food is comes from the soil, you see. So we have to really, really educate the farmers and also speak to the chiefs also. You see, because you can't blame the government, because there have been so many governments that have come and this thing is there, nothing has been done. And now the whole thing is being put on this government. I mean, I'm not, I'm not an NPP man, but I feel sorry that they have come to inherit this, I don't know, this canker, I call it. It's like a cancer. So we have to also help the government to find a solution to it. And my solution, I tell you, is that we should go back to basics.
What role do you feel the chiefs should play in this fight?
Well, now, I mean, because they're the custodians of the land. The chiefs are the custodians. If they don't give the land to you, I mean, you can do what you're doing. So I think that we should tackle it from the angle also.
Cracking the whip on the chiefs?
You crack the whip. You have to crack the whip. You have to crack the whip. If I'm the president, I'll crack the whip, and I'll crack it really, really well. Because I mean, it's affecting all Ghanaians. It's affecting everybody, whether in the north or in the south or in the east or the west. It's affecting us all.
Since you're passionate about educating people, let's talk about the education sector. Yeah. Should you be elected president, what is your plan to transform Ghana's educational system?
I'll tell you what I'll do, because since I've been out of the country for quite a long time, and when I was in the, the education system I had in this country propelled me to where I arrived in foreign land. To me, I think the education system is so contaminated, that's how I say it, that it stinks high heaven. I mean, when we were in secondary school, I went to Accra Academy, I went to Swedish school, I've been to quite a lot of secondary schools. And, from Form 1 to Form 3, you know everything. You know every subject in this world. These, the sort of education we've got now, I speak to university students and because our time, geography, you have to know, you know every part of the world.
You feel the current system isn't robust enough?
The system is not, as far as I'm concerned, is so contaminated that.
Contaminated with what exactly?
Contaminated that because our kids are not as knowledgeable as we were. I have to be honest with you. Because our time, you go from Form 1 to Form 5, and then you go to 6th Form before you go to university. No, I'm looking at this, my daughters, they just finished, I've got twin girls, they just finished Accra girls. They tell me, I'm just looking at them saying, okay, you're doing this. I'm just totally lost. I think, you see, sometimes if it's not broken, if it's, don't fix it. Our education system at the time, if we throw back, was so good, because you know why? Now I come to domestication on that, because all secondary schools at the time had school farms.
But the curricula hasn't been changed, really.
It has, seriously. From where I'm sitting, I can say, because I talk to, I get confused, SHS, and I talked to them, I said, do you know anything about, physics? They don't. You ask them, little things. The other day I was asked, do you know what a Benson burner is? They don't know.
What's your thoughts about the free SHS policy?
Sorry, come again?
What's your thoughts about the free SHS policy?
Well, it's on, but I think it's good because at least those who cannot, and the parents were not able to let them go to secondary schools and stuff and go to SHS, it's free. For that, I think it's good.
What would you do differently in terms of our educational system should you be elected?
What would I do differently? I'll go back to basics. I'll go back to Form 1 to Form 5. I'll get them to change the curriculum. I'll get them to let the kids... You see, this Galamsey is also because, when they come out of school, they don't know the importance of geography. They don't know the importance of history. You see, they don't know the importance... you can ask most of the kids. If you ask them Ghana's history...
But in senior high school, we are still taught geography and history, except if you feel otherwise.
Where? Here, now?
Yes.
Are you joking me? I've met...
But it's an elective course. That's the challenge. So the child has to choose if they want to study it. You see? So are you saying under your leadership, it would be compulsory?
Of course. Now, let me come in. You know the word parent. Now, what does parent mean? You guide your child to be better, probably more than you. Now, we don't parent our kids. All the kids, majority of them are lawless. Why is it so? It's because the education system has been so contaminated that, I mean, you know, what can I say? I feel sad. I've got to be honest with you, with the education system. And most of the people that I know, friends of mine, who are excelling, we have the old style education. We studied hard. We stayed at night to read books and pass exams. And then when you come out and you've got 1 AA, then you know you've done it. And then you go to the sixth form. And then you get your A's and you go to university. And then but now the university, I mean, you know, how many people the university is employed? I mean, students are there now. How can the lecturers teach them properly? I mean, you got 5,000 students, you got a microphone, you're talking to them. In our times, you don't do microphone. You know, so the education system is what is caused the youth to be lawless and where they are now. And
how do you plan to tackle unemployment? Because I see you're passionate about the youth.
Yeah.
How do you plan to tackle unemployment and provide jobs for them?
Right. Now, I mean, the GCPP has already started, actually. And I walk in the streets of Accra sometimes. And, you know, I mean, I go to clubs and stuff, and when you're going to park, you see these kids, oh, yeah, I'll park you. And then, you know, you go to Hannes, like, oh, no, I'll park you. And I'm looking at, you know, the young men, very strong, you know. And so the other day I said to one of them, I said, look, I'm having a farm, and I'll take it. He said, oh, please do. He said, I mean, just a little step, like I said to you. And then one of the guys said, you know what I'll do, Honorable? I'll plant salad leaves for you, you never believe it. So these guys are ready to work. And that's where I'm going to start, because domestication, if we don't domesticate our kids, we don't domesticate ourselves. And it seems as if people think that, oh, domestication is just a fanciful word. No, it's not. My father didn't use the word domestication just for the whip of it. No. It's not just a buzzword, because he tested it and he did it and it was successful. So he wanted to replicate more, but unfortunately, you know, we don't live forever. So, you know, he had to go, and that's where I'm taking the mantle. And I think that if we harness their energies into farming, and I will say this till I die, if you don't feed yourself, you can't be self-reliant. Our situation now is because we're not self-reliant. If we're self-reliant, this Galamsey will not happen. We're not self-reliant. We're relying on too many people. Oh, yeah, you know, this guy gives it. No, let us come together as Guineans. Let's hold our hands and say, yes, we are, you know, we're suffering now. So what do we do? You know, that's why I know people say things about some of these politicians, and but I do admire some of them. Kennedy Japan, I do admire him tremendously. The man has done a lot for Ghanaians, but they do not appreciate him also. But sometimes he's a bit loud, but hey, so what?
As we wrap up the conversation, yeah. Why should I give you my vote?
Why should you give me? Because I'll tell you, I'll change the narrative of Ghana politics. It's a new style of politics. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, you know, our politics is good, but I'm bringing a new style of politics. I will involve everyone. Because you know why? Faustina, we have the men. And I'm not saying we have the men on the MPP side, but we have the men across the country. You know, and the thing is, if I'm in, I'll use from any party. I'll go to the NDC. I'll use some of them. I'll go to the MP. Look, there are people. I mean, you know, today I was getting ready for you, and I was thinking. I said, look, these guys are so good. You know, some of them are seriously passionate. Someone like, I mean, Okujato Ablakwa. The guy is, you know, he fights for Ghana. That is when
so
you see.
You would urge him to join your.
I mean, look,
your party.
If he joins my party, hey, lovely, I'd love it. But if he doesn't join and I win, he will be a minister. I'm telling you, for nothing.
Okay, let's run me through the list quickly as we wrap up the conversation.
I've got, I mean, you know, Kennedy, you see, I like him because he's a businessman. You can't run a country whilst there are no businessmen in there. And I'll tell you why my dad was successful, the late Dan Lartey, he was a businessman. He had 48 companies. He had companies in Nigeria. So he gets to know the terrain. So you got someone like Kennedy in Japan, and then we lambast him sometimes.
So you give him a ministerial position?
I will give him anything he wants.
Who else is on that list?
I mean, I've got two main people that I really think that I will seriously, I mean, you know, ask them to come and, you know, enjoy my cabinet without a doubt.
Well, that's how we wrap up the conversation. Thank you, Doc, for your time here on Newsdesk. We will be back with business after this quick breather. Do stay tuned in.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Kwao. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam has retweeted government's commitment to aligning the country's investments with sustainable development and climate resilience. According to him, this will guide both private and public investments in projects that promote low-carbon growth and support the country's climate action. He was speaking at the 2024 Accra SDG Investment Fair.
The launch event themed Unlocking Green Growth, Financing Future through Sustainable Investment brought together key stakeholders from the financial sector, government agencies, and international partners to explore how this new taxonomy can accelerate Ghana's transition to a climate-resilient economy. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam indicated that the taxonomy will provide clear guidelines for identifying sustainable economic activities.
But in doing this, we should do it in such a way that the economy is not negatively affected. Rather, the transition must provide opportunity for harnessing the potential associated with low-carbon economies and also to be able to create green jobs. But you cannot do this without accessing sustainable financing or green financing. And this is why government, through this taxonomy, will provide that guide and work with the industries that impact our environment heavily to achieve eventually a low-carbon economy that creates jobs, that creates wealth and income, and that creates better opportunities for our people.
Ghana's launch of the Green Finance Taxonomy is seen as a significant step in advancing the climate resilient development and positioning it as a leader in green finance on the African continent.
Now, the Petroleum Commission is still engaging various players in the oil and gas sector to minimize the practice of emitting carbon dioxide into the environment. This is to show commitment to the global energy transition by enforcing laws, including the payment of carbon dioxide tax and also reducing gas flaring on the oil fields. Engineer Cheba is in charge of metering and inspection at the Petroleum Commission. He has been speaking to Joy Business at an upstream fiscal metering seminar in Accra.
The seminar aims at creating a platform for stakeholders to share ideas on reviewing some regulations in the oil and gas sector, especially fiscal metering. Speaking to Joy Business after making a presentation, Engineer Cheba, engineer in charge of fiscal metering and inspection at the Petroleum Commission, disclosed that oil exploration firms are permitted to flare at an allowable limit in order to control environmental sustainability. He believes the payment of the carbon levy can help control flaring.
It was trying to align itself with its energy transition policy, the public one. So in line with that, there will be some expectation that by virtue of the project we signed ourselves onto, that we would have to pay some sort of tax relating to CO2. Now for the upstream sector, our avenues for CO2 is through burning. And through burning means flaring on the facility. So emissions, leaks, seeps, those type of things will have to be measured. Now, in meeting that, we need to start looking at the guidelines that buttress that particular activity, which is the flaring. And of course, flaring is not a routine flaring. We don't have routine flaring in Ghana. But if there's any at all, we need to measure it to be able to demonstrate to the world that this is how much we are emitting in relation to CO2.
According to the Petroleum Commission, both Ghana and the partners lose huge sums of money in the event that measurements are wrongfully calibrated. He, however, assured that the partners have put in place measures to reduce exposure to losses.
0.05% offset, of course, was close to 400,000 USD a year. We don't want that on either party. Somebody is always losing if there's mismeasurement. So that's what we are trying to reduce.
Is this a loss to the state or to the company?
It can be everybody. Everybody's losing. The state will lose, the entities will lose. There's always going to be a loss if there's mismeasurement, especially systematic errors within measurement.
The seminar was also used to foster effective collaboration among partners.
And that's it for this segment. Short break. We will be right back.
Well, many thanks for your company here on NewsX. For more news, please log on to myjournal1.com. My name is Faustina Safo. Good morning.